This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shashina Wolf-Parkinson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news today marks the official start of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, and the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration is predicting an above-average season. These predictions fueling much trepidation among residents of East Grand Bahama. The area is hardest hit by monster storm Hurricane Dorian. And almost 2 years later, some residents say that they are still rebuilding. Our Jamila Mizik has our top story.
It is officially the start of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, and ever since Hurricane Dorian in September 2019, residents in the East End community say their lives will never be the same, as many of them are still trying to pick up the pieces and return to some sort of normalcy. However, they say this time around, they are hoping for the best. We spoke to resident Christopher Humes, who says some 2 years later, rebuilding efforts are continuing.
You always got to be prepared for it. The one good thing is you have time to prepare a little bit before the storm gets here. But as of for this period of time right now, as you can see, people are still rebuilding. Like the building across the road, they're just working on that. People from Sweden Ski, these stuff here to go to Sweden Ski, they still doing rebuilding now. So it'll be hard for another storm to hit us right now because people hasn't finished rebuilding yet. They have some houses finished in McLean Sound, some almost completed here, some in Pelican Point people are working on. But, people are still kind of in fear.
Jeremy McIntosh is sharing a similar story. He says Hurricane Dorian was the worst storm he has ever experienced.
Around here, everyone's still in fear. We just come up Dorian about a year or two ago, and it's still the fear that we just come back home and we're scared something else will come and we basically have to start over again. So that's basically the fear, but everyone's still preparing. They don't know where to go. And as far as shelters, a lot of people say they might try to go off the island because everywhere got flooded the last time.
Now, weather officials note that despite an expected above-average hurricane season, 2021 is not expected to be as active as the previous year. And Rocky Creek resident Randy Reckley is hoping that those predictions are true, as it is not an experience he says they wish to go through again. He adds that a lot of East End residents are still waiting to return home.
Everybody's scared of the flood. See, we went through 2 and 1 before, but we never had this water before, and that was damage everything when the East End and ABACO and wherever that hit, just the water, because it washed out everything, Imagine, all your rock sheet, your electrical work, your plumbing work, everything I tear down. You got to rebuild only the frame of the house there, and that's what we going through. That's why it's taking so long, because we got the tiles and all got to come up, So it's a lot, it's a lot. It's a lot we still have to do. A lot of people ain't come home yet, You have a lot of people still in Freeport and maybe Nassau, and a lot of the older ones, the senior ones.
And they say they believe that this time around, most residents will evacuate ahead of time.
Well, I think everyone would get out of these areas if not a hurricane were to, be on the way here or start to even approach close to us or whatever. But, the place is coming back together day by day. The gas station has just reopened. They're getting ready to open a building, the government complex here, which will have the police station and other office for the ferries and stuff like that. So, progress is being made.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
And on this first day of the season, the Department of Consumer Affairs is launching its hurricane preparedness campaign. Officials are advising the public that every effort will be made to ensure that the rights of consumers are protected. RJ Philippe picks up that story.
Officers at the Department of Labor Consumer Affairs Division on Grand Bahama have been working daily in preparation for this time of the year. The department's mandate is to enforce and monitor price control while policing stores to ensure that merchants are in compliance with the law. Reno Smith, Chief Price Inspector here on Grand Bahama, says to date, pre-hurricane inspections have been completed at the majority of the hardware stores on island to ensure that all hurricane products are properly priced.
We need or persons are in need of plywood, nails, etc. for in preparation for hurricane. And so on the 11th of May, and again on the 13th of May, the team went out to do various hurricane inspections with hardware stores, etc.
Smith also confirming that some of the hardware stores on island do not have all their hurricane items in stock as yet.
We're going back on the 3rd of June to ensure that all products are properly marked and priced so that we can know what the prices are of plywood, of radios, of flashlights, all things that might be necessary for hurricane preparation. We would have that information before a hurricane comes to prevent price gouging.
He is urging the general public to be proactive when shopping for items even before the possible threat of a storm. In the meantime, he is putting merchants on notice that any business found violating the Price Control Act will be held accountable.
Once we have the prices of all items relevant to hurricane prior to, if anyone, that is business houses, imply that the cost of plywood would have changed prior to this and what have you, they will have to show us the invoice to reflect that. And if indeed it is found that a business house is indeed gouging in price, they will be severely dealt with.
Smith assures that over the past few months, his team has been working together collectively to ensure that they serve as prosecutors over any violations of the Price Control Act.
We will check out all of the prices as it relate to plywood and other necessities like nails, etc. And then, of course, flashlights, batteries, fans, all of those things. So it's a team effort. It'll be too tedious for one inspector to be assigned to one particular entity. And so as a team on Thursday, come Thursday, we will be checking all establishments for prices of hurricane goods.
I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
Well, former employees of REEF Tours Limited say they are being ignored by the owners. This after they were terminated last year in the middle of the pandemic. They claim that despite the industrial tribunal's ruling, they have yet to be paid, and tonight they are calling on their former employer to pay up.
I've given my whole life to this man, to the company. I did my best. I did my all. I went above and beyond.
This is the sentiment of Belinda Russell, former operations manager of REEF Tours Limited, and her colleagues who were terminated last year without warning.
And all I got, August 26th, was a one-line letter.
The letter presented to the employees states, due to the pandemic, closure of the cruise industry for many months, this, along with other factors, forced REEF Tours Limited, after 41 years with the cruise industry, to close its doors. Wishing you all the best. The employees, many of whom have served many years and as far back as the 80s, say that they were taken aback. These employees say they were not given as much as a thank you for their years of service, and even more importantly, no funds for their years of service.
No references, no severance pay, no notice pay, nothing. I asked him if he at least will have a meeting, because it was 12 of us in this company. He is the one, when I asked him, are you going to have a meeting with us? He said, no, take him to Labor Board. So we did what he asked us to do.
Labor advocate Lionel Morley says they have arranged 3 meetings at the Labor Board and then went to the Industrial Tribunal, where they won the case in April. However, even with the ruling, they say the owners have yet to pay up.
We are regulated and governed by the rule of law. And if there's a court order on the poor man, he's left to pay. If there's a court order and a ruling on the rich man, it seems like he's able to walk away with a slap on the wrist. All we're saying today is that that cannot be right. In the past, we have advocated to previous government and this government now to create the necessary legislative framework so that the tribunal can have the power to enforce his ruling. Now we are stuck with another bill to go and take this matter to the Supreme Court for enforcement. That is not fair on people who haven't received a salary in almost 6 months.
The employees note that they are hurt, and they say it is simply unfair.
We feel horrible. Yes, we understand that he has it's act of God, the pandemic, the hurricanes, and all that. We understand that. But every company, every business that is open has their ups and downs.
We would not rest until justice is served to these people. These are mothers, grandmothers, fathers, and some of them are the single breadwinners of their family. They've given their life to REEF tours. What are they to do now?
Shashina Wolf-Farquharson, ZNS Network News. Now, our ZNS News team reached out to attorney Chris GOUTHRO, legal counsel for REEF Tours Limited, who says that they are disputing the ruling by the Industrial Tribunal for the simple reason that he, as the attorney, nor REEF Tours were given proper notice of the trial.
So REEF Tours did not have the opportunity to make any statement or give any evidence in the trial of the matter. And so, contrary to the rules of natural justice, REEF Tours didn't have the opportunity to say anything or defend itself at the trial.
So what happens in a case like this where they are saying that they would have won? Do you go back to the tribunal, or does that ruling stand?
The only way to challenge that ruling is to go to the Court of Appeal, which is expensive because the Court of Appeal is in Nassau, and so it would be extremely expensive for the employees and REEF Tours Limited to have the appeal heard in Nassau. And that is the only way that, at the moment, that REEF Tours could have a say, whether there could be a fair trial. So there was no trial of the matter, only one side was heard.
Now, he claims that the company does not have the money for an appeal, stating that REEF Tours Limited has suffered tremendously as a result of Hurricane Dorian and the pandemic. When asked if REEF Tours Limited plans to pay the employees, he was unable to say.
Well, if REEF Tours had the money, but as you know, the pandemic and the hurricane, that the suffering has just been so terrible. Everybody had to share in this suffering, regardless of who we are. The employers have suffered, the employees have suffered.
So are you saying that that the employees will not be paid then, despite the ruling?
Well, I can't comment on the affairs of the company. I can only comment on the legal situation. So I've explained what the legal position is and what the law is, and it's one of those situations where the justice was not served.
Well, we contacted the owner of REEF Tours Limited, who questioned why the former employees would take this matter to the media. He said the issue of whether or not the former employees will be paid is a matter for the Labor Department, and it is not the media's business. Switching gears now, a man was shot and killed in ABACO overnight. The incident occurring around 5:30 a.m. in the area of Dundas Town. Police say they received a report of a traffic accident in the area of Tamarind Drive, Dundas Town. And when they arrived at the scene, they discovered a light green Suzuki Swift vehicle in front of a green-colored residence. Upon further inspection, officers discovered gunshot holes in the driver door window and the body of a lifeless male in the driver's seat with suspected gunshot injuries about the body. EMS responded and pronounced the male lifeless. Investigations are ongoing. And also from ABACO, a boating incident is under investigation on that northern island. The mishap taking place around 9 p.m. in the area of Matlow Key near Maniwaki. Reports say the vessel had just left the Guanakee Marina with a total of 14 passengers on board when it crashed into some rocks. The impact throwing passengers forward to the bow of the vessel. Several passengers were taken to the Marsh Harbor Clinic for further medical attention. The vessel is owned and operated by one of the local ferry services on ABACO. And police are on the lookout for 49-year-old Keith Coakley. He is wanted by the Financial Crime Investigations Branch on the charge of fraud by false pretenses. Coakley is of dark brown complexion, 6 feet 1 inch in height, and heavy set. Police say he has multiple addresses and he is known to frequent Grand Bahama and Abaco. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.